I'd love to. There are a few skills I need to acquire if I'm going to pull it off. Most of the medical knowledge is kept by, I mean, you'll find a few herbalists and bone setters who are male, but maybe 75 to 80% of the healers are women. Now, the women are the ones who are least likely to speak Spanish.
Oh, okay.
For instance, I had an amazing experience with an old-fashioned healer. If I could get my hands on more like her, figure out a way to, better than Gregorio, pounding around on Google Translator, if I could find a way to access it, I would in a hot minute, but it's going to take some more time.
Well, I'll tell you what, very selfishly, that's the book that I'm really looking forward to. I would love to...
You and about 3 others. Yeah. Like I said, I need some more language skills. I looked around Lake Atitlan. I have a good friend there who's very close with the Maya, and you just don't get the same quality that you would get in, say, Campeche province of Yucatan, that's where the supposed real masters are. I should just take a job as an ESL teacher at the Campeche Institute.
What's ESL?
English as a second language.
I'm
certified as an ESL teacher, and try to get in that way. But I'd love to write it if I can get more access. Well, the ceremony I saw was just amazing. You wouldn't even believe it.
What would be like the scope of the book? Is it kind of like A to Z how to heal yourself, or is it more like...
Well, I would give a little bit of theory, because the theory is interesting. It's a whole theory of the human body. It's as complex as anything you'd find in Hindu Ayurveda or in Chinese medicine. Their whole idea of energies within the body. And until you understand their concept of energies in the body, you don't know what it is that they're healing.
Well, couldn't you, to get it started, could you just write that part?
I could write that part probably now and fill it in later. I'd like to put in,
What if you write a part 1 and part 2 and just release the energies portion of it with, in the acknowledgement or in the beginning, say, if anyone knows of a way, maybe that would even function.
I could do that, but by the time, by the time I get it finished, I'll have been back down there hunting again. So.
Dang it, I don't want to wait that long.
Okay, well, I can't help too much there.
Maybe. At least he went to maybe.
Well, no,
I can't.
Got a no to a maybe. We're making progress.
Of the various things, and there should be sections on, self-healing. I see 4 categories. They use massage, they use herbs, they use what we would call psychological healing for psychological illnesses. And what's the 4th thing I was trying to think of? Herbs, massage, psychology.
Energy?
That would fall under all, they all use energy. Ritual. Okay. Yeah, what I saw was basically an exotic ritual, performed by 2 old curanderos. One of whom looked like she was like straight out of the 17th century.
Really?
Yeah, I mean it was real unusual. I was just sitting at my friend's house. Well, what's the news? Oh, well, my son is not feeling well. We're very worried about him. And then there's a knock at the door, and this woman with like what looks kind of like a turban on, and long gray hair, completely dressed in, traditional garb, carrying a load on her back and barefoot, walks in, followed by her daughter, who looks somewhat more modern. And they said, in fact, we're going to have a ritual for our son right now. And so the old woman started doing ceremony, which I got to witness.
How long does the ceremony take?
I had to leave before it was done, but I was there for a good 2 hours.
Wow. And do they use a lot of like the incense and the
Oh
The
yeah, yeah. It was
altars and
so thick you could hardly see. They had to do it out in the backyard on account of all the smoke.
And is it the
smoke.
copal that they used, or a variety?
They
or?
burned everything that I could imagine.
Except the kitchen sink?
They burned copal, frankincense, various types of flowers, herbal preparations. I don't even know how they fired that pot so that it would hold that much, heat.
Really?
Yeah, because they put it all in a pot, and then they chanted over it, and then they lit it, and then there was this big fire. And
where was the son during all this? Is he out?
he
with
was
the
out
fire?
there.
Yeah.
He was out there, and they were smudging him with copal and frankincense and all this other good stuff.
That's so exciting. I cannot. I would love to be able to learn more about that.
And but I didn't ask. They hadn't really. Usually, if they want you to know the details, they will say something. So I didn't ask. I have my own, suspicions about what they were doing. But it would be great to get. Well, the old woman would be hard to talk to. Next time I'm up there, I'd love to get her daughter alone, because the daughter actually speaks pretty good Spanish.
In this same village where you were, do they have a mixture of quote unquote like Western medicine as well as Maya?
Yeah. Yeah.
And do they call them doctors, or what are the gal that came to the door? What is her?
They would use. I don't know the
healer?
Mayan word exactly. There's a different Mayan word for every different type of healer. Like the word for, a bone setter would be different than the word for an herbalist, which would be different than the word for a midwife. But they call them. They use Spanish. They call them all curanderas.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do they have a combination of like Western medicine as well as Mayan, or is it...
Usually, well, they do on a practical level, but it's usually kept separate. In other words, both of these women. I mean, the daughter runs it. The older woman is like the knowledge figurehead, but she obviously doesn't know anything about applying for funding or writing grant proposals. But it's a women's cooperative that has a dual purpose. One half of the purpose is to provide basic medical supplies for villages. The other half of the purpose is to preserve ancient knowledge. So if you go to like a Mayan calendar festival and you go to the booth for this cooperative, all you're going to see is the herbs and traditional remedies. But if you went into their office, you would find a locked room with all kinds of pharmaceuticals, which some guy will put in a pickup truck and drive up to a village that doesn't have it. So it's that.